You can apply an image to the background of just about any container within HTML. So that means something like a div element or any other of the structural elements. In this movie, what we're going to do is add a background image to the body element, which is essentially applying a background image to the document. So Dreamweaver makes this pretty easy. What you need to do is come up to the Modify menu, and from the Modify menu, you can choose Page Properties. In the Page Properties dialog box, you'll notice that there's an Appearance category, and in parentheses, you'll see CSS. On the right-hand side, you'll see an area for a background image. Go ahead and click Browse, and inside the Chapter 5 folder is an Images folder. And in the Images folder is a file called background.png. You'll notice that it's just 10 pixels by 1200 pixels. So 10 pixels wide by 1200 pixels tall. Go ahead and click Open. Once you click Open, you can actually click Apply to see that image. Now, it's an image of a gradient. Technically, you could use CSS to generate the gradient. You wouldn't need an image. But this makes an easy example in terms of understanding the different behaviors associated with background images in HTML. If we leave it at that and we click OK, we can see this gradient image in the background. But what I'd like you to do is save the document and preview it in a web browser. I'm going to go ahead and preview it in Safari. As I scroll down, again, it looks pretty good. But what happens if we add additional space or more images to the document? Well, I'm going to go ahead and do just that. I'm going to put a blinking cursor to the right of this third image and press Return or Enter. Then I'm going to open up the Assets panel and drag out a couple more images. So I'll go ahead and place this one underneath it, and I'll apply that image class for the heck of it. Now this is getting to the point of what I was trying to show you. I'll go ahead and add one more image here, one that we don't have. I'll place this down here, and again, I'll apply that image class. You can begin to see the problem, at least in this case, and the problem is that the background's repeating. This right here is the top of the image again. And so this doesn't make a lot of sense in this application. We don't necessarily want this background image to repeat, at least not vertically. So if we come back to the Modify menu, from there we can choose Page Properties, and we can control how it repeats. Right now, the repeat is set to the default, which is repeat both horizontally and vertically. But notice you can control it. You can choose No Repeat and click Apply, and you'll notice it's not repeating at all. You could also choose Repeat X, so it only repeats on the X-axis, or Repeat Y, which means it will only repeat on the Y-axis. Well, we want it to repeat on the X-axis. Go ahead and click Apply. Once you click Apply, you'll see the bottom of the gradient. What you can do is apply a background color to fill this white space. The background image will lay on top of the background color. So what we can do here is open up the background swatch and sample this color, and then click Apply, and it looks like we have essentially a much larger blue space within the gradient. Go ahead and click OK. If you scroll up, you can see the gradient until it transitions into the blue. So that's all well and good. Those are your options for working with a background image. There are some options that aren't available in the Page Properties dialog box. So what I'd like to do is collapse the Assets panel, highlight the Style element, and then come over here and highlight the Body selector. Then in the Properties section, you'll notice that there's an area called Background. And there's a lot of options here for controlling CSS-generated gradients for the background, but that's not our concern. Our concern here is this background attachment. Right now it's set to the default, which is scroll. If I go ahead and save this, and again take a look at it in a web browser, you'll notice that the content, the background, it scrolls. And it looks like Dreamweaver is actually displaying the gradient in the opposite way that it's really being displayed in a browser, which is actually interesting. I'm going to go ahead and close that. It's really weird. If I come over to the live view, so it's rendered in a WebKit rendering engine, we can see that it is in fact not correct. So let's come back to the Modify menu. I'll turn off live view. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample this lighter color here. So I'm going to go to Modify, Page Properties, and for the background color, I'm going to change it to this lighter color. Then I'll click OK. Then we can come back to the live view. And then if I scroll down, we're getting the desired result. The background color is still off a little bit, but it's getting closer. So if we wanted to, we could resample it and get closer to what we were looking for. But nevertheless, the default behavior of scroll means that everything scrolls. So I'll go ahead and turn off live view. The other option, of course, is to have the content scroll over the background. Let me show you what I mean. If we come over here and change the background attachment to fixed, then save the document, and then preview it in a web browser, as we scroll, the content is scrolling over the background, so the background's not scrolling at all. So that's just a different approach. Depending upon what your layout and design calls for would ultimately dictate what you would assign for that property. But I did want to point out that containers within HTML can contain a background image, and you have options for controlling the appearance of that background image.